Without wasting much time, let us start our today's session. First of all, for those who don't know what moot court is, it is a competition whereby the participants are given a hypothetical case which they have to prepare and present before the simulated court. If the case is listed before a trial court and it involves the examination of witnesses, it is known as mock trial or trial advocacy. I have divided the phase of moot court into three parts, three P's, which I call. The first P stands for the preparation, second for the presentation, and third for the progress. The preparation phase is the phase which includes researching, drafting, memorial preparation, preparing compendium, preparing oral arguments, etc. The presentation phase includes the things like oral arguments, rebuttals, sur-rebuttals, appearance, the attire, court etiquettes, etc. Progress phase is the never-ending phase, which is the phase of self-introspection and progressing based on things which we have learned in the mood course. I will go step by step so that we cannot miss any of the important points. First of all, let us discuss with the preparation phase. I have divided it into various steps. The step number one is selecting a right mood court. Now, what is a right mood court and what is a wrong mood court differs from person to person. But I will point you out some of the important aspects which you shall keep in mind before selecting a mood court. First and foremost, you shall see the subject matter of the mood court. For that, you have to read the preposition for one time at least. Find the subject matter, whether it is the constitutional law or competition law, whether it is based on arbitration, etc. Then compare it with your field of interest. Now, I am talking about the field of interest, not your comfort zone, which is very different. So, compare it with your field of interest and then compare it with your future objective. For instance, if you want to join IPR firm in future, and in your CV you have participated in too many moot court competitions, but in let's say constitutional law, so it will be of less use. That's why you shall see that what is your future objective, what is your field of interest, and what is the subject matter. If all these three things coincide, then only you shall select that particular moot court. Moreover, you shall not reject a moot court only on the ground that you have no idea about the subject matter. If you have interest in that particular subject and you are dedicated enough, then you will learn a lot from that moot court and you shall go for it. Step 2 is forming a right team. Now, forming a team only on the basis of friendship is the worst way to form a team. Your team shall have a common interest with the subject matter. Step 3 is to understand the rules and regulations of the moot. Read rules and point out the things like what is the marking criteria, whether there is researcher's test or not, what are the relevant dates, what are the deadlines for things, any special requirement of any formatting which is mentioned in the rules, what is the winning prize, etc. Step number 4 is registration. If you have followed the three steps which I have just mentioned, then you can directly go for the registration of your team. But remember, you shall get the permission from your college as well. To, for instance, suppose your team has participated and registered for a particular moot court, and without the permission of your college, and another team from the same college has participated in the moot court with the due permission of your college. So, if any dispute arises in future, that team will be given preference over you. So, in order to avoid such situation, you shall take permission from your college as well. Now, step number 5 is understanding the moot preposition. I suggest you to read the moot preposition at least for 3 times. The first time we read the preposition is when we select the moot court in the step number 1. When we read the preposition for the second time, we shall point out the following things. That is, who are the parties who involved in that particular case, who is the party who is bringing the case, who is the party against whom the case has been brought, who is the authority before whom the case is brought, whether it is Honorable Apex Court or Court of Justice or it is High Court. So which is that authority before which the case is brought? Then under which provision the case is brought? For instance, if it is Apex Court, then the case might be under Article 32 or Article 136, etc. So the provision under which the jurisdiction falls. Then on what grounds the things are being claimed by the petitioner, and what are the remedies sought by the petitioner, and what is the response of the respondent on that particular matter. These are the things which you shall note while you are reading the preposition for the second time. And then you shall read all the basic provisions and basic statutes which are involved in your particular case. Then after this, there is step number 6, which is framing of issues. Here this is the time when we will read our preposition for the third time. Usually in many competitions, the issues are already given, but still, if you want, you can add your issues, or you can even further subdivide into them into sub issues. I am discussing the way to frame issues. First of all, discuss your preposition line by line with your teammates, with your researcher and the other speaker, and point out as many as questions as possible from that, and which can be raised expressly or impliedly in the preposition. Then take out the only the relevant questions out of them and bifurcate them between question of law and question of facts. Now, what is question of fact and question of law? That I would like to tell you with the help of an example. For instance, whether Mr. A killed Mr. B, this is a question of fact. And whether stabbing a knife on someone's leg and consequently causing death falls within the ambit of murder and hence punishable under section 302 of IPC. It is a question of law. In simple words, the dispute relating to happening or non-happening of an event is a question of fact, whereas the dispute relating to the interpretation of law or the applicability of law on a certain matter is a question of law. To answer the question of fact, we need to provide actual evidences. But as we cannot provide any external evidence in moot court, that's why in moot court the issues are framed only on the basis of question of law. So list the question of laws out of your questions, and those will be our issues. Now step number 7, which is researching and organizing. For research, for the purpose of researching, divide your issues among the speakers who are going to deal that issues in the rounds. The researcher has to deal all the issues from both the sides. Remember one thing, that you can cite only authentic sources. Authentic sources like statutes, case laws, reports and findings of the government, of any government, not only India, of any government. Then research and findings of any recognized institutions like WHO, etc. Now, how to do a good research? It is a question of many students, that how can we do a good research? There are various n number of search engines available like SCC Online, Manupatra, Westlaw, etc. But even if you don't have any of the access to any of this, you can still do a brilliant research. I will tell you how. See, first of all, search on Google whatever you are looking for. Then read the material from those unauthentic sources which are available there. Then see the footnotes and the end notes in those in that material. There you will find many n number of cases or statutes or other authentic reports which are mentioned there. Now go to those reports or cases and read them. Those will be the cases and the authorities which you can actually cite in your memorial. So in this way, you are using the unauthentic sources for the purpose of creating a link between you and the authentic sources. So without the help of SCC Online, Manupatra, or Westlaw, etc., you can still do a good research in this way. Now, one thing you shall remember, that while reading a judgment, you shall also read the arguments of the counsel from both the sides. Irrelevant of the fact that whether the case is in someone else's favor, you shall read the argument of the other side as well. In this way, you can get a good contention from both the sides. And you can download the cases from the official websites of International Court of Justice, Honorable Supreme Court, Apex Courts, etc. And they are accepted in the moot court as well. And during research, you will get the material from both for both the sides. That's why I will suggest you to create 2 separate Word files for each of the side and write the issues which we have already framed. And then whenever you get anything relevant for that particular thing, organize it under that said issue in the said side, and also mention the source from which you have taken this. In this way, you can gather a good source of research and you can organize it in the for the both the sides under the relevant issue. And you can also download those authorities simultaneously. It will be making our compendium in the future. Now step number 8, that is argument advanced. Argument advanced are nothing but the detailed form of your arguments which you are presenting before the court. If you have followed the said steps which I have just mentioned, you are already having a good research, and that too the organized research. Now all you have to do is to create a link between your argument and the facts. It is with the point of law and your facts of your arguments. For the purpose of drafting argument, I will suggest you a principle which is one of my favorite. That is the principle of KISS. KISS. That is, keep it short and simple. So shall be very short and simple. That is, a person shall be capable of understanding what you write your arguments in third person form. That is, for instance, the council would like to cite the case of Keshwanath in so and so. So your argument shall be in the form of third person, not in first person. That is, I would like to cite. No, third person. Then the framework for argument is based on Barak rule, BARAC, Barak, in which BA stands for the bold assertion, that is the claim or request which you are seeking from the court. R stands for the rule, that is the legal doctrine and legal principles which are applicable on your matter. Then A stands for the analysis of the facts and the law, and interlinking the ratio which is laid down by the law. And C stands for conclusion, that is summarizing your whole reasoning and mentioning the points which you established with the help of your issues. So in this way, your issues will be well formatted in this Barak format. Now divide your issues into further sub issues if it is needed. Give proper head to your arguments. It will give a good impression in the mind of the reader, as well as it will make more easier for him to understand that what is the thing which you are mentioning and what you want to prove with the help of it. So while drafting arguments, after taking every issue, assume yourself to be and ask yourself that whether you are satisfied with the argument or not. If you are satisfied, then it is well and good, you can move further. But not satisfied, then you shall find what is the shortcoming here. You shall work over there. This is mostly the work of researcher. Many people ask what is the work of researcher. The work of researcher is there. Okay, you can get a separate organized file for the argument advanced, and in this way our argument advanced will be prepared. Now step number 9 is drafting memorial. Memorial is the written submission which we submit before the panel, before the judges. And to get a good format of memorial, you can surf the websites of many organizations who are organizing moot courts. There you can get the winning memorials of last year, and you can refer them for the purpose of referring the format. But I am suggesting you some of the points which you shall keep in mind while drafting a memorial. You shall make a new word file for each of the side, and you shall cover the following things. That is, first, the cover page. Your cover page shall include the name of the moot court competition, the court before which the parties are appearing, name of the case, which will include the name of the parties, whether you are the petitioner or the respondent, and what is your team code and other such relevant information. Then comes the table of content. You can make table of content easily with the help of the automatic table of content feature, which is given in MS Word, and you can make it at the end of the while after completing your memory. Then comes the list of abbreviation. It is the list of all the abbreviations which you have used in your memory. You can leave the space for it, and you can make it after completing all the other. Then comes the index of authorities. Your index of authorities shall always be in alphabetical order. That is, A for articles, you shall write all the articles which you have mentioned in the memorial. Then B for books, C for cases. Now you can make a separate list of cases if you are having too many cases. Like in my case, in my memorial, for one side there are almost every time there are more than 100 cases. That's why I have to make a separate list of cases. But if you have a very less number of cases, you can index of authorities. Then D for dictionary, then and statutes. You shall also mention the page number on which you have mentioned these authorities. Then comes the statement of jurisdiction. Students do here is that they directly copy. For instance, if the case is if it is a writ petition before the Honorable Apex Court under Article 32, then they will copy the text from the barrack and paste it. Statement of jurisdiction. But it is the wrong thing. What you shall do in the statement of jurisdiction is that you shall make your own way of statement of jurisdiction in your words, which shall include that under which provision the court has the jurisdiction to hear the present matter, and what is the nature of jurisdiction. Like for instance, Article 32 has the original jurisdiction, Article 136 has the extraordinary appellate jurisdiction. So you shall mention that what is the nature of jurisdiction under that provision, and then in your own words you shall explain that what is the provision of the said clause. In this way you shall write the statement of jurisdiction. Then comes the statement of facts. Now statement of fact is the golden chance to hit the subconscious of the judge. The sentence framing of your statement of fact shall be of such nature that it shall indirectly give an impression in the mind of the judge that your client is right and the opponent is wrong. You shall not lie or manipulate the facts in the summary of facts. And I prefer to make a timeline instead of a mere summary of facts. That is, on a certain date, so and so thing happened. On this date, the case was filed. On this day, the case was brought in the Honorable Apex Court. In this way, making a time more better. Now, next thing is issues raised. If you have followed the step number 6, then we have already framed the issues with the help of question of law. Then comes the summary of arguments, which is as the name it presents, it is a summarized form of your argument advanced. Then comes the argument advanced, which we have already framed in the step number 8. And after that, finally, a prayer. It is one of the most crucial part of your memorial. For the side of petitioner, it is the ultimate remedy which the petitioner is seeking, and it is the plea which the respondent is making in response to the petitioner's case. In this way, our memorial will be complete, but remember to adhere the format which are mentioned in your rules. Many competitions have their own separate kind of requirement of formatting of memorial, so you shall adhere those things also in your mind. Then comes the step number 10, which is memorial submission. Before submitting your memorial, you shall check the spelling and grammar of it by pressing F7 in Microsoft Windows, MS Word. And you shall always convert your Word file into PDF before mailing it. And then you shall rename your PDF file by mentioning your team code and all other such relevant things like the which it is representing, maybe petitioner or respondent, whatever. And in your mail also, you shall mention a proper subject and the body along with your memorial. Now coming towards the step number 11, which is preparing our compendium. Now what is compendium? Compendium is merely a compilation of all the printouts of all the authorities which you have cited in your memorial. Uh, you shall make a separate compendium for both the sides. Many students do is they prepare a scattered file for the compendium and they give those files while referring them while in their oral arguments. Though it is not a wrong way, but I don't like this way because it is a little informal way of doing and it wastes a lot of time because you have to pass the compendium line by line. So it is better to make a compendium in a single file for each of the side, so it will be more organized. And you shall do flagging also with the help of sticky notes which you shall refer while you are arguing orally before the panel. Now comes to the step number 12, which is preparing a separate file for oral arguments. Though it is not mandatory, but I recommend to make a separate file for oral arguments as well. In this file, you shall write exactly what you are going to speak in front of the panel, in front of the judges. And you shall also mention the flag number of the compendium which you will refer while you are during your oral arguments. And this file of oral arguments shall be with everyone of your team, that is your even your researcher and both the speakers, because your team shall know that the speaker is going to speak before the judge. Because sometimes what judges do is that judges ask you some question which is not from your issue, which is from the issue of your co-counsel. But in this case, some students say that this will be dealt by my co-counsel. It is not a right way. You shall know the answer to it and you shall satisfy the judge on that particular point. Now coming to the step number 13, that is practicing. No doubt, the more you practice, the more you get close to the winning trophy. Keep a stopwatch and speak and practice your arguments before your researcher and your co-speaker, and ask them to ask as many questions as possible. Then note down all those questions which are possible, which can be possibly raised by the judge, and then find a proper solution, proper answer to it with the help of case laws or whatever you can do. In this way, you will be prepared with all the questions as well that are going to be raised against you. Now start practicing as soon as your issues are over. Like for instance, if you have completed your issue number 1, you shall start practicing it. In this way, when you will come to the issue number 4 or 5, your all the others issues will be properly framed and properly practiced. Now coming to the step number 14, that is understanding the opponent's memorial. Before your rounds, you will get a memorial of the opposition party as well. Now your work is to understand that what are the arguments he might be going to argue and on what grounds. So with the help of that opponent's memorial, you can do a little research and point out the point of laws to analyze the weaknesses of the opponent and to use those weaknesses in our favor. And with this, our preparation phase comes to an end, and here comes the presentation phase. Presentation phase is the phase for which we prepared. That is, all your hard work will be wasted if you couldn't present your arguments perfectly. I am sharing some of the points which you shall keep in mind while presenting your case. First, appearance and attire. Your team shall be recognized distinctly with the help of its attire as well. Though in most of the competitions, the dress code is already mentioned, but still you can make a distinct and attractive attire of your team by some of the ways. Like you can use same kind of ties, same type of tie pins. You can same type of pens in your pocket, and don't forget to carry the one of the most important thing with you. That is your attitude. Have your team shall have the attitude that yes, you can do it, and this attitude is the thing which will help you in winning, because it will kill the confidence of the opponent. Then comes the court etiquettes. You shall address everyone formally. For instance, if you are addressing the court, you shall address them as the honorable lordship, your honor, etc. When you are addressing your opponent counsel, you shall address him as the learned counsel, petitioner side, or learned counsel, respondent side, in such a way. When you are addressing your teammates, you shall address them as your co-counsel or your researcher, learned researcher. Instead of saying sorry, you can say I apologize, your lordship, or pardon me, your lordship. Instead of saying thank you, you can say much obliged. And if you don't know something, you can say that counsel seeks ignorance. Instead of saying sorry, don't I don't know, or something like that, counsel seeks ignorance. But try to avoid this situation. Try to get all the answers and prepare everything before going to present your case. Now keep a positive face all the time. Even if your team is getting grilled by the judge, you shall have a positive face. The grilling shall not be seen on your face. Your face shall be positive all the time. And sitting in discipline. Even if the opponent is arguing, or even if your teammate is arguing, you shall sit in a disciplined manner without talking to each other. Then avoid passing cheats. In many competition, it is allowed to pass the cheats, but I suggest that you shall not pass the cheats, because it seems a little informal. That's why don't try to avoid passing the cheats. Then comes the oral arguments. A good mooter always argues by citing his authorities along with his arguments. So you shall always cite the flag number in your compendium, which I have just told you. You shall cite those flag number while arguing, and then you shall maintain a eye contact with the judges instead of merely reading from your memorial or oral argument file. You shall maintain the eye contact. Now, how to argue? For that purpose, I am telling you my way of arguing. You can prepare your own way in a different manner. I start in this way, that the counsel seeks permission to approach the dais. Much obliged. May I please your lordship? The council find it at his immense pleasure to appear before the Honorable Supreme Court of India in the case of A versus B. Being the petitioner, the council represents A in this forum. With the due permission of the Honorable Court, the council would like to address the bench as your lordship. Much obliged. The time allotted to us is divided into three parts. The first so and so minutes will be dealt by the speaker number one. Next so and so minutes will be dealt by the speaker number two, that is my co-counsel. And last 1 minute, we are going to reserve last 1 minute for the rebuttals. With the due permission of your lordship, the council would like to discuss the statement of jurisdiction. Then after that, you shall say that with the due permission of your lordship, the council would like to proceed towards the statement of facts. Or else, if you want to skip the facts, then you can say that if your lordships are well versed with the council would like to directly proceed towards his arguments. But here I will suggest you, I insist you that you shall always discuss your facts. Because for instance, if you had a fight with your sibling, and when your mom will ask you about the story which you are going to tell and the story which your sibling is going to tell will be different. Though you both of you are not lying, you are not misrepresenting, still your stories will be different. The same applies to the summary of facts. That's why you shall mention your client's part of story with the help of summary of facts to create the first impression in the mind of in the subconscious mind of the judge. And then, if your lordships are well satisfied with the argument, the council would like to the prayer. Now, during the prayer, Your team shall stand at their own place to honor the court. In this way, our oral arguments will be done. Then comes the rebuttal and sir rebuttal. Save your time in advance for the rebuttal, as I mentioned in my oral arguments that there will be 1 minute for rebuttal. In this way, you can insist the court afterwards to allow you for the rebuttals. Now, what is rebuttal? Rebuttal is the last statement made by the petitioner just after the respondent's prayer. Now keep some of the points in mind while you are doing your rebuttal. Your rebuttal shall not exceed more than 2 minutes. Keep it as short as possible. The longer your rebuttal will be, the longer space you are leaving for the some rebuttals. Just keep it short. Now, uh, point out some of the laws which we have prepared while we were reading the memorial of the opponent. Those point of laws will be very helpful at this point of time as well. Now you can cite, you shall listen carefully to whatever the opponent is arguing and what the judges are questioning and what the judges are commenting, and you can cite those comments of those judges in your rebuttal as well to make your rebuttals more beautiful and more authentic. Now, I would like to point out some of the things you shall point out in the rebuttal. That is the favorable points which will turn the case in your favor. Then the weaknesses of the opponent, significant weaknesses like any misinterpretation of fact or any improper use of statute, incorrect statute which they have applied, any overruled judgment which they have cited. You should point out such weaknesses in your rebuttal, and you can point out any allegation which is overlooked by the respondent, and you can say that if any allegation is overlooked by respondent, it means that they are accepting those allegations against them. You can tell this to the honorable court. Now coming to rebuttals, rebuttals are the last statement of the respondent just after the petitioner's rebuttal. It is the rebuttal to the rebuttal. That is, if there is no rebuttal, there will not be any sir rebuttal. Some of the points which you shall keep in mind while doing your sir rebuttals are that it shall not exceed more than 60 seconds, because you cannot attack the opponent. You cannot attack the opponent's weakness, that is petitioner's weakness, in sir rebuttal. That the petitioner can do in the rebuttals, but the respondent cannot do that in the sir rebuttals. Moreover, you can only defend yourself against the points which are raised against you in the rebuttals. That's why 60 seconds are more than enough for the sir rebuttals. With this, our presentation phase is also ends. Now coming to the progress phase. As I already mentioned, this progress phase is the never-ending phase of self-introspection and progressing based on the basis of what we learned from the moot court. The moot court not only helps you in the legal profession, but it also helps you in the real life. The key areas in which moot court will help you in developing yourself are: first, drafting skills. When you will draft your memorial and oral arguments, it will automatically improve your drafting skills. Then the communication skills. When you will argue in front of such a big authorities, it will improve your communication skills, as well as it will improve the confidence in you, because you will be arguing before very senior legal professionals. Then team spirit, because you will be working together, learning together, and winning together. It will improve your team spirit. It will generate a good network, because you will meet new people, new faculties, new professionals from various colleges. Hence, it will help you in generating a good network for your future. It will improve your researching skills as well, and it will improve your right knowledge, because if a person knows how to do a good research, he will always have a right knowledge, because he will not refer to the unauthentic sources. He will always refer the authentic sources, hence he will have the right news always. Then you will know the practical aspects of law, plus it will develop your intellectual, and it will develop you intellectually as well. And last but not the least, it will develop your personality. As an intellectual and confident person with a good knowledge and good communication skills is what a good personality we call. That's why moot court will develop you in personality development as well as in other aspects as well. So, if you are planning for going to become a corporate lawyer, you shall first of all decide your field of interest, and then you shall focus on the moot courts which are on that particular subject matter, and you shall do as many as possible moot courts on that particular subject matter. If you are planning for litigation, then along with moot court, you shall focus on the trial advocacy as well to understand the basic trial procedure in the subordinate courts. If you are planning for judiciary, then participating in mock trials, and the moot courts based on say criminal law, constitutional law. These things will help you to understand the practical aspect of law, which will ultimately help you in the mains examination as well as in the interview. In short, whichever stream you are deciding, moot court will help you either directly or indirectly. With this, we have covered all the three P's of the moot court, that is the preparation, presentation, and progress. Now, I would like to discuss some of the important points which you shall keep in your mind regarding moot court competition. First of all, you shall not take moot courts as a mere competition. You shall take it as a real life case, and you shall try your to get the judgment in favor of your client. You shall keep yourself hydrated because drinking sufficient amount of water is very important, and trust me, it will help you in improvement of your oral arguments as well. And you shall revise your memorial after the moot court also. It will refresh your memory, it will refresh your knowledge of law, as well as you will be able to see your progress, you will be able to know your progress by yourself. Now, three things which are very important for a moot court are facts, acts, and texts. Facts are those which you will get from the moot preposition. Act are all those laws and judgments which you are going to get from your research. And tact is your innovative approach and tactics through which you are convincing the judge the judgment in favor of your client. Now, with this, I would like to conclude my session, and I would like to say that moot court is like a glass of wine. The more you drink it, the more you love it. With this, I would like to conclude this phase of this session. For the purpose of certificate, you can contact Ms. Koshi Tiwari. She will provide you with the certificate of this session. And now we are proceeding towards the question answer phase. If you have any query, you can ask the questions within 10 minutes. Thank you so much.